Hey y'all, it's Kim. So this is the last about hour and 7, 8 minutes or something of this Darren Indyke interview or deposition about Jeffrey Epstein. He was the attorney. He's also the co-executor of Epstein's estate. And, really up until this point, he's kind of seems like he's denying that he knows anything about what Epstein was up to. But anyway, whatever. I'm sure all these people are just trying to say plausible deniability that they didn't know what he was up to and nobody ever complained to him, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, let's go ahead and let him play. Like I said, it's like in the last hour. This will be like video 7 of this because I had to break it up into small increments because it's a lot. Anyway, let's let him play and we'll see if anything else is revealed. Okay. Just give it a moment to do its buffering.
Okay. If I could return to the topic of an individual you were asked.
Yeah, just so stupid. Sorry,
You
my
were asked
internet's
about
terrible.
several rounds ago, and that's Howard Lutnick. The question, I believe, was whether you ever became aware of a relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and Howard Lutnick. And as I understand, your answer was you did not know of such a relationship. Is that right?
Up until recently, I had no knowledge other than that Lutnick was a neighbor.
I'm just going to quickly ask the court reporter to mark as exhibit D an email dated May 28th, 2018. It is a thread between Jeffrey Epstein and an individual with an email address bearing the initials HWL. Given that it appears to originate from Cantor Fitzgerald, we believe that to be Howard Lutnick. The message down below from Mr. Epstein reads, "Tell your lawyer that Darren, my lawyer, will contact him." And then the response up above from HWL, "Meeting is tomorrow morning." You are not on this email. Do you have any recollection of meeting with Howard Lutnick's attorney?
No, I have no recollection of meeting with Lutnick's attorney at all, and I don't have a recollection of any instruction to contact Lutnick for it. If he had said this, I don't recall him ever saying it to me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Indyke, thank you. Just before we go off the record, I'm going to note that based on your responses to my questions regarding your conversation with Mr. Epstein prior to his death, we are no longer seeking a ruling from the chair regarding your meeting with Mr. Epstein. Thank you.
Thank you.
We can go off the record.
We'll go back on the record. During the previous hour, we discussed Mr. Epstein's registration as a sex offender. Did you ever do any work in relation to his status as a sex offender as it related to being granted visas to travel?
I recall there was a request at some point to go to Canada, and I recall that because of his status, that was not going to be possible. I don't know that I actually did any work on it. other than to advise that I didn't think this was going to be possible.
Did Mr. Epstein get special privileges to travel to the U.S. Virgin Islands as a sex offender?
Special privileges? I'm not sure I understand the question.
Was he able to travel to the Virgin Islands?
The U.S.
Yeah,
Virgin Islands, he was
right.
registered in the U.S. Virgin Islands. That was his primary residence, and he was registered as a sex offender in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
You mentioned Canada. Did Mr. Epstein apply for a visa to visit Russia?
I have no independent recollection of this. I have since learned that, I forget where, that application was made. I'm talking about very recently.
And for the record, you said you have since become aware. Are you aware of emails involving you related to a visa application to travel to Russia?
No.
Did Epstein ever discuss any business that he had in Russia with you?
Generally, I knew there were, so I don't know the names, but there were people that he did business with that had Russian relationships. Generally, there were people that I understood that he did business with that had some Russian connection.
Were they affiliated with the Russian government?
I don't think so, but I don't know, but I don't think so. My sense was that they were businessmen.
Over the course of your representation of Mr. Epstein, did you have signatory authority over his personal and business accounts?
Yes.
Did anyone else within Epstein's orbit have signatory authority?
I believe at times there were people who did.
Why were you granted this authority?
Two reasons that I recall. One was as to make sure that people who were requesting money on behalf of Epstein had authority to request the amounts. So, and I guess they didn't want the accounting. The people who were doing the accounting could be the same people writing the checks. So I had a series of, my understanding was there were these conditions. This person, I don't remember who, but the person would have had $5,000. This household manager could have $3,000. And so if the request was made, it'd have to be within that threshold, or there had to be some kind of an email from Epstein saying pay this or something. And so part of my job was to make sure that checks that were going out within these conditions.
Did you ever sign off on payments to women or young girls for services?
I recall, I think I discussed this earlier, on Azalea was had some kind of a marketing relationship with one of the foundations. And I remember the foundation was writing checks to her on a monthly basis. And I believe I signed those checks.
For what reason were checks being sent?
She was a marketing rep for the foundation.
Did you ever authorize wires to girls in Eastern Europe?
Nothing. You have something that you can show me. There's nothing that I recall. Do you have anything that I could look at?
And this is a tricky little tightrope trying to protect victims. And
I understand.
so anything I show you is going to create issues. But yeah.
Did you ever sign off on, actually, let me back up, as it related to the woman you previously mentioned in her marketing business, did you ever question the legitimacy of that marketing business?
No, she had a resume which was fairly fulsome. She had a business degree. I think it was a business degree. She had a degree, and so her role was consistent with what was in her degree.
Did Epstein pay for that degree?
I don't think so, no, this was before that.
Generally, again, did you ever sign off on payments for women's healthcare visits?
There's nothing, not that I don't know that I didn't, but there's nothing that I recall.
Did you ever sign off on tuition or donations to schools?
I recall tuition. I don't know if I signed off on them or not, but I recall it. It was, as I explained, not unusual for Epstein to pay tuition for employees, for colleagues, for associates. So it certainly is possible.
How many bank accounts did you manage for Epstein and Epstein related entities?
I didn't manage bank accounts. I didn't say I managed any bank accounts. That was an accounting function, not my function. I was a signatory on many accounts. I don't know how many.
This 140 sound about right?
I honestly, I don't know. And if you're talking about at one time, that doesn't sound right. If you're talking about over the years when banking arrangements are lost and then gained and then lost, and the new ones are created, I think that could be possible.
Did Mr. Epstein maintain any accounts in foreign countries?
I believe there was in Paris a bank account, maybe more than one.
Did you have signatory authority over those accounts?
I don't recall if I did or if I didn't.
Are you aware of whether he had any accounts in Switzerland?
I seem to remember HSBC, but I don't know if he had an account or that was an account of one of his clients. But I seem to remember there were HSBC accounts. I'm not sure. Again, my function wasn't the accounting department. That's not something that I would have done.
Generally, though, are you aware of any accounts in Grand Cayman?
No. I'm not personally aware, and I don't have any recollection of anything that comes up.
It's been reported that you provided cash and logged costs for Epstein's coverage of doctor visits, rent, lingerie from Victoria's Secret, and haircuts from luxury salons. Is that true?
And I had a question again. The first part of it, cash and somewhere you said
Cash and logged costs for Epstein's coverage of doctor.
What's the log cost?
Let me rephrase the question. Well, logged costs kept a ledger.
okay, so reserve.
Yes.
Yeah, but let me hear the question.
Just repeat it again.
It's been reported, Mr. Indyke, that you provided cash and logged costs for Epstein's coverage of doctors, visits, rent, lingerie from Victoria's Secret, and haircuts from luxury salons. Is that true?
So it's been reported that I did that?
Correct.
That's not true.
It's been reported and alleged that in February and March of 2016, you authorized approximately $60,000 in wire transfers to young women at foreign beneficiary banks. Mr. Indyke, did you initiate these wires?
I don't know what they're referring to. I'm not saying I didn't, but I don't know what they're referring to.
Did you ever initiate wires to foreign beneficiary banks for young women?
Could you tell me a bank? Could you tell me something?
Are there young women?
And can you tell, when you say young women, you mean women?
Are there women that today you can identify that were recipients of wires that you transferred to foreign banks?
I don't recall any particular. If you could show me something, I could tell you whether or not I did it.
The victims that you referred to as assistants, most of them came from Eastern Europe. They were financially incentivized to come here, and they got wire transfers between 2010 and 2013. So those, you're not aware of those wire transfers to Eastern European banks to facilitate the travel of the people you now call assistants, which are victims?
Okay, so there's a lot in that question, and I don't, you're doing it again to me, and I'm trying to answer your question, and there's a lot in there, and I don't know how to answer the question. So
Have you wired money to Eastern Europe?
I don't believe I've wired money to Eastern Europe.
Have you wired money to Russia?
I don't believe so. I mean, is it possible over the course of however many years that something like that happened? I guess. But if you show it to me, I can't tell you.
Have you subsequently learned that money that was wired was used or intended to compensate women for sexual services?
So I've not learned anything like that. I've heard allegations here and after he died that happened. But I don't know that that's true. I have no idea.
As it relates to foreign wires generally, did you ever have concerns with the volume of wires that were being sent overseas?
I don't recall doing a volume of foreign wires. So I don't recall any concerns. And are you sure that these questions are directed at me? So, if wire transfers were not generally something I did.
Has any bank ever requested explanations from you for suspicious payments?
I'm not sure if it was from me, but I do recall Deutsche Bank requesting information about payments. I don't recall what the subject matter of or the amount of the payment or who the payment was to. I believe there are times if I am doing a transfer that I'll get a request, what's this for? And not because they were suspicious. You know, that happens from time to time when I do wires for any transaction. With respect to suspicious transfers, I don't know that I got one. I guess it's possible, but I don't think so.
Do you consider Western Union to be a wire transfer?
I don't know. I guess I don't know.
I'll re-ask. Can you send any Western Union payments to Eastern Europe or Russia?
No.
Reportedly, JP Morgan raised concerns with checks signed by Beller. Do you have any recollection of JP Morgan raising concerns to you related to checks signed by Beller?
No.
Why did no, I'm sorry. Why did JP Morgan Chase drop Epstein as a client in 2013?
I don't know. I think I've said it before, but I'll say it again. When the bank drops you as a client, when they drop him as a client, we didn't get a reason why. They don't tell you why. There were assumptions made on this end that it had to do with his criminal conviction. But beyond that, did not know.
After he was dropped, what did you do, or did you have any role in transferring Mr. Epstein's money to another financial institution?
When they opened up new accounts, I believe I became a signatory of accounts, and I had to sign documents for account opening documents. But the actual transfer of funds was not done by me.
Mr. Epstein maintained accounts at Deutsche Bank thereafter, is that right?
I believe that was what had happened after the move. Yes, sorry. Yes.
Do you have any recollection of Deutsche Bank ever raising concerns with the financial activities of Mr. Epstein's accounts?
I received a call from Deutsche Bank once. It asked me about an interaction I had at the bank. I believe the interaction was relating to the fact that I had gone in on one day with one of these $7,500 checks and told the bank when I was there that I thought I would be coming in within a day or two to withdraw money from my own firm's account, cash for the petty cash of that firm, and specifically, to be transparent, told them that if they needed to somehow aggregate this because the total would be more than 10,000, I wanted to tell them now because I did not want it to be considered something wrong. And then I got a call from one of the client relationship managers, I don't remember who it was, asking me about what happened. I explained that very thing, and the client relationship manager was satisfied, and then I didn't hear about it again.
But for the record, what you were inquiring, why did you make this inquiry?
We had gotten fired from the bank, right? I wanted to make sure that I did not do anything that would get us fired from another bank. So I wanted to be transparent. And if there was something that had to be done, I didn't want people to think that I was doing something that wasn't supposed to do. So one was for $7,500, one was for the $4,000. The total was over 10, right? So if that was aggregated and they thought I was trying to get under 10, but taking out 10 within the same week, I didn't want them to think that was the case. So I told them in advance. So and told them if they had to report it, they should. I didn't know if they had to report it, but I told them if they do, they should, because I didn't want people to be suspicious of me.
That wasn't the only time you took $7,500 out, is that right?
That's correct.
How many times did you take out that specific amount?
The number that's been quoted here is like 97 times. I don't know if that number is accurate, but it's possible. And remember, that limit was a limit that the bank imposed. That $7,500 amount, I would have done fewer times, more money, because that's what the accounting department wanted. They wanted money in their petty cash safe. And every couple of weeks, I would get a request for more money for the petty cash safe.
By doing so, were you actively trying to avoid complying with the Bank Secrecy Act?
Absolutely not. It's just not possible. The limits were imposed by the bank itself, not by me.
I want to go back to the immigration issue.
Okay.
So 2013, there were assistants that we now know are victims living at 301 East 66 or with Mr. Epstein in his house. Two of them, one of them, Karina, and then the other, both Both of them lived at 301 East 66th Street, to your knowledge?
To my knowledge, yes. And
To your knowledge, yes.
you said that one of them lived at his house, but
It's my understanding Karina lived in his
I don't
his
believe
house.
that's true. I don't think that's
So you
true.
think they both lived at
Yeah.
301?
Yes, I do.
And was you a citizen?
My understanding was that she was a U.S. citizen. Yeah,
And Karina's Belarusian.
I think that's right. Yes.
And Mr. Epstein asked you to, well, those people got married.
Correct.
And Mr. Epstein asked you to help Arno Descartes apply for Karina's citizenship.
That's not true at all. He didn't ask me to ask Arda to start it.
Sorry, did your voice up?
Sorry, that's not true.
Did Mr. Epstein ask for you to provide documents to the immigration attorney that was facilitating Karina's citizenship application?
I believe Karina asked me to provide documents.
What documents did you provide at their request?
I believe it was a lease.
Any other, all that you remember is a lease?
That's what I remember.
Did you ever communicate with Mr. Epstein regarding the application for citizenship for Karina?
I believe I did. Yeah.
But not at his request. You just updated him on it. Or what was the nature of that? He was concerned that his employees, ostensible employees, were.
I believe this is some time ago.
And then
I don't remember that. I want to be helpful, but I don't remember. I don't remember it.
So then 4 years later, did you file for their divorce?
I didn't file for their divorce. No.
Did you facilitate? Did you connect them with people that helped them get divorced?
4 years later, as I understand it, had a divorce attorney that filed for the divorce.
How long do you have to be married in order to maintain your citizenship after divorce?
I have no idea.
Did you provide documents for another couple that got married in 2013?
I believe also a lease.
Any other? Who was that?
I believe their last name.
Okay. And one was a U.S. citizen,
Correct.
and one was not.
Correct.
And again,
At the request.
one of them requested for you.
One of them requested that I do. Yes.
Okay. I feel like earlier you said that you weren't involved with 301 66th Street substantially.
Correct.
You just were a tenant.
I was a tenant. I had office space there.
Why would they go to a property manager for that?
What do you mean?
If you're not the property manager of the building,
Because
Epstein
Jeffrey had a connection with 301,
okay, so Jeffrey's
which is how they found the building.
okay, so Jeffrey's brother owned OSA Properties,
I believe he was a principal at OSA.
and so
And I believe that Epstein leased space. I just don't know if the space that he leased was those apartments or not.
this is very convoluted. All right, so you were a tenant in 301.
It was a tenant in 301.
You were not the property manager.
Not the property manager.
Did you control any units other than them?
No.
So what role did you have in providing a lease for a company that your employer didn't own?
There was a relationship between Jeffrey and 301.
Did you sign the lease or did somebody else sign the lease?
301 signed the lease with him.
Did you sign it on behalf of 301 or did somebody
No,
301 sign?
I don't have that relationship with 301. No, I did not sign.
Okay, again, this is just confusing because you're not the property manager. Your employer doesn't own the building. And what role did you have in creating a lease for a building that you have no association with?
Well, I never created the lease. I requested the lease. I told you I requested it.
Okay, so you requested the lease
Yeah,
from the property manager.
from the property manager.
And that the purpose of that was to get a lease that had
I was,
two names on it instead of one?
I was requested to get a lease within
By
five.
Karina, or
You know,
did you give it to the women, or did you give it to Art of the Stars?
I don't recall. If I would have given it to Arta, I was probably asked to give it to Arta.
By Mr. Epstein or by the women?
By the way,
I'm just gonna circle back to the email, and I wish I had it on me, but there's an email on the 5 million documents. It says from Epstein to you and Khan saying that he's worried that Arta Viscardi is going to turn on him. What does that mean?
I have no idea.
Did Mr. Epstein ask you to apply for visas for him or any of his people that you refer to as assistants?
No, I don't think he asked me to apply for any visas.
Not to Japan.
I don't think so.
Real quick, you just discussed the marriage between Ms. Shuliak and the other victim. Did either one of them ever approach you to ask for assistance in obtaining a divorce?
Yes.
Did you ever advise either one of them to not get a divorce?
No, we never advised anybody not to get a divorce. Came to me and said, would I help her get a divorce? I told her that, one, I wasn't a matrimonial attorney, so that's not something I ordinarily did. And I also expressed concern to her based upon my understanding that she had just filed some kind of an application for Karina and Shuliak, that what I knew about divorce in New York was that you are either filing for something called irreconcilable differences or abandonment or something like that. And that seemed to me that would be inconsistent with statements that she likely made to the government in the application. And I expressed concern about doing that and cautioned her about it. Yes, that's what I said.
And now I just want to briefly focus generally. Did any victims, individuals identified as victims, ever come to you to ask for help as it related to being sexually abused by Mr. Epstein?
No.
On July 6th of 2019, Mr. Epstein was arrested on federal sex trafficking charges. When did you become aware of those charges?
At some point, so Epstein was seized at the airport. I'm not sure if it was Newark or Teterboro. He was seized at the airport, and at some point after that, I forget who told me, but I was told that he was arrested.
And we discussed your role during the 2008 prosecution. Did you have any role whatsoever as it related to his arrest in 2019?
I went to the jail a couple of times. I understood that that he needed his criminal defense team, and I think I contacted them. And I think I contacted them about it. I believe I did some kind of research or legwork in connection with the bail application. And then participating in meetings with defense counsel.
During the previous hour, I believe the minority had asked you if you ever had any contact with victims. I believe you answered no. Is that right?
That's, I think so, yes. I think that's when you say contact other than assistance, right?
So for the record, you never told victims not to contact or speak with law enforcement. Is that right?
So the answer is yes. I never told anybody not to speak with law enforcement. I remember one or two occasions, and I don't know when, and I think this was in the early investigation, or the later investigation, that there were people who were concerned that law enforcement was calling them, and the defense counsel, who they didn't know, asked me to call them and tell them that they could have a lawyer if they want, that they didn't have to speak to them if they didn't want. But I never told them not to speak to one. They simply related the statement from the defense counsel that if they wanted a lawyer, they could have one provided.
We will briefly go off the record. We'll go back on the record.
So I just want to finish that answer. So and it's been a long time now, but I believe that I would have said, and I did say something to the effect that you don't have to speak to them without a lawyer present, and if you want, counsel will be provided for you. And the reason that I was asked to do that is that people were expressing fear about having to talk to law enforcement. They didn't know, they'd never done it before, and it scared them, and they wanted to know.
Quick question. Do you know the name Ramsey Alcohol?
You know,
Big allegations that Epstein paid him to work for them. If you don't know the
I
name.
don't know that.
Mr. Indyke, do you believe that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself?
It's a tough question to answer. On the one hand, the answer is I don't know, really. At the end of the day, I just don't know. I could see reason yes, and I could see reason no.
Do you have concerns that he didn't kill himself?
I really don't know.
Did he appear suicidal when you met with him?
No,
Did he ever say he was depressed?
no. It's not something he would have said to me.
What is the 1953 trust?
It is what's colloquially called a pour-over trust from the will. It's the trust after the will is completely probated and all claims are settled. If there are assets and funds left over, they would go over. They would be transferred over from the estate to that trust.
And why was the 1953 trust created?
It is my understanding, because I'm not a trusting state's lawyer per se, but to my understanding, as a generalist, many times you, because you don't want your dispositions to be a matter of public speculation, you put everything in the state over to a trust, which is then administered outside probate.
When did you learn that you'd be a co-executor of the 1953 trust?
I'm trying to remember. I think the 1952 trust was an amendment to an existing trust. So if you're asking about the 1953 trust amendment, that would have been at some point while he was in jail that I was there with him and his other attorneys. If you're talking about the prior trust that the name was changed to that trust, if in fact I'm remembering correctly, it would have been when that trust was drafted and I was appointed as a trustee of that trust.
What was the discussion around how much you would receive as a co-executor of the trust?
As a co-executor, There was no discussion, it was simply, this is what it provided.
So you have no understanding of how $50 million was decided?
I think I tried to answer this question before. The trust itself, the estate document itself provides for a relatively, it's not a small amount, but a relatively small amount, $250,000 to each of the executors. Normally, an estate of this size, if it were being probated, say, if, for example, in New York or in Florida, would as a base amount get, 10, a large percentage, tens of millions of the large amount of the estate. And if it's more complex an estate and it requires more time, there would be applications for more money to be paid for that. In this case, that wasn't the case. It was one payment to be made of $250,000 to each of the executors to be made upon completion of the probating of the will. So, as to the why he did what he did and why he gave money to whom he gave money to, we never had conversations like that with him. He always did what he did for his reasons, and he never discussed his interests with people.
What's the current remaining value of the estate?
Gosh, I think the accounting has it. Is it 100 and I don't have the number, but I think it's just north of 100 or so.
Are you factoring in funds that are still due from outstanding investments?
I'm not, because I don't know what that ultimately will look like.
So the rough math is 170 million from the investment in Valor Ventures.
Anybody who's ever invested in a fund like that can tell you that those numbers they're not meaningful until they're actually real.
When does that fund come due?
The funds, I think, are a year apart. Their initial due date, one of them, I think, two, is due in 26, but there is an option for the fund manager to extend. I think at least 2 years, and then even then, with the consent of the majority of the holders, could extend it further. So right now, I don't have any specific details on when those funds will ultimately be realized.
So the estate is currently valued just north of 100 with the potential of 170. I appreciate that's unknown. And the fund allocation at the wrap up of all of the outstanding claims would be 100 to Karina, 50 to you, and 25 to Con.
That's
Roughly
100 to her, except no, because at the end of the day, because Karina was the recipient of all of the properties that were ultimately sold to pay off all the claims. There's some kind of a makeup formula for that.
more than 100.
She'll get more than 100. So, and that's first. So that makeup formula for all those properties gets done first, and then the rest gets done.
Do you all get paid in order, or do you strike a proportional balance?
I believe it's a proportional balance after the payment of the makeup for the properties.
Okay, so first is property makeup, and then the 150, 25 is divided proportionally based off of available assets.
This is my understanding, and remember,
You charge this.
I know, but I have counsel that tells me what to do.
Okay, just clarify.
So that's.
Are there any other unknown amounts that are due other than the potential of 107 from Valor Ventures?
There are two other funds. One of the funds is Sum or something like that, sort of partnerships. That I believe that's being sold in the. I don't know after taxes what the number comes to, but it's
Tens or hundreds?
10, less than 10, or maybe it's just over 10. But we have to pay for taxes, number one, and that money is in part being used to fund the cash requirements of the the class action settlement.
You said there's 3 outstanding claims,
The third one,
or so are there 3 overall outstanding claims
we'll say 3 outstanding claims. You're talking about,
against the estate that would
Yeah.
preclude you from wrapping it up?
well, there's new claims that are filed almost daily. So,
Okay.
you know, it's certainly there were new claims filed this past month, in addition to this class action. We don't know,
So it could be a while.
it could be a while, and, you know, look,
And the most you can get, you got paid $250,000 for the entire thing?
I haven't gotten paid to him. That doesn't get paid until after the estate's probate.
How are you paying for attorney's fees associated with all this?
So the attorney's fees are paid from the estate, because this is all expensive.
Not yours.
No. I think you're saying,
Are you getting paid hourly for services
you're
associated?
talking about my attorney's fee?
Correct.
Oh, I'm not getting paid from the estate.
For 7 years, this has taken up
Well,
thousands of hours of your life,
it's exactly,
and you have not gotten paid $1.
not from the estate, huh? I think, you know, I had a legal practice and trying to work out a real estate business that I'm trying to get off the ground.
Now, can you consult on one update to an earlier question? I just want to make sure we get the record straight on the value of the state. Can we consult for 1 minute?
Yeah.
Mr. Indyke?
You can go off the record. We'll go back on the record.
Thank you. Can Mr. Indyke just clarify on something that the Congress?
So when you had asked before about the 172 rough value of those refunds of the LAR, I wanted to make sure that it was clear that the hundred something valuation of the estate from the last accounting includes some valuation of the LAR. So the 172 is not on top of that. There is a portion of that 172 which is not included in the 100. I don't know what the exact number is, but it is not the full 172. That make sense?
Could you ballpark it?
I really don't want to be in that.
It's in the accounting, though. That's all.
I'll do your calculation.
Yes, the I.
Sorry.
I don't want to be in that.
I appreciate you clarifying.
Mr. Indyke, I want to run through some entities that you may have had a role in. First, what is the Southern Trust?
The Southern Trust or Southern
Southern Trust Company.
Southern Trust Company Inc. is a current entity that's owned by the estate, and it was the main operating business of Epstein before he died.
Main operating business, what was its general purpose?
It was ultimately going to be providing financial and medical informatics. It was also doing consulting services.
Who else beside you were affiliated with this entity, I would presume, right?
As an administrative role, I was secretary, I believe secretary and the vice president.
Who else was involved?
I'm trying to remember at the time, but right now, Tom is a treasurer. I'm president now. But at the time, I don't remember who had a titular role. But the office had, multiple employees in the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Who were the beneficiaries of the trust?
It's not a trust; it's a company.
What is the butterfly?
It seems the sole stockholder. I think it's a stockholder. Yeah, sole stockholder. Okay.
What is the butterfly trust?
Are you familiar with the concept of a grant? Grant or retained annuity trust.
Can you briefly elaborate for the record?
Again, this is not my specialty, but as a generalist, a grant or retained annuity trust is a trust that you put in an asset that you believe has appreciating value. And you put in that value, and then you take annuities from the trust over some period of time. Sometimes it's 2 years, sometimes it's 3 years, sometimes it's 5 years. But the idea that you're taking annuities out every year at a certain percentage results in the, the, the gift being, the gift to the trust being zero, and because you're getting it back a percentage every year. And while it's in that trust, and assuming it appreciates over the term of that trust, the appreciation, although there's an income tax on the appreciation, the gift of that appreciation to a pour-over trust, which is the butterfly trust. So the gift of the appreciation of the property that's appreciated. If I put in $100 worth of property and it turns into $400 at the end of the term of this trust, somehow that appreciation that's left after you pay the annuities back, that appreciation goes into a trust, which is called a pour-over trust, and that goes estate tax free. So you're getting it's a convention that, as I understand it, is used regularly for appreciating assets to put those in a new trust after they've appreciated in value. And so the butterfly trust was a pour-over trust, had the appreciation in it, and allowed gifts to be made from the butterfly trust to be made tax free.
It appears that there were three distinct trusts. Butterfly, it appears 2013, and then a Caterpillar's trust. Are you able to distinguish those three?
Caterpillar trust is the grant that I just told you about that poured into the butterfly trust. Butterfly Trust 2013 was a pour over from another trust.
Who were the beneficiaries of these trusts?
I can't tell you all of the names today. In front, I can't list them for you.
Was Karina Shuliak a beneficiary?
It's possible.
Were you a beneficiary?
Yes.
And why would you be a beneficiary if you're
the same? I wasn't the organizer of the trust, but it's the same. You have, unfortunately, the only person who would know that would be Jeffrey Epstein.
And I may have got ahead of myself. You had mentioned that you couldn't tell the committee who these individuals were. Is it because you cannot recall all of their names?
And it was so like, for example, the Butterfly Trust, the pour-over trust is allowed to be amended. And from time to time, there were amendments to that trust. I just don't know what the final iteration looks like. And I don't remember at this point who was initially, who's not initially, etc.
Did these trusts make payment to women identified to be victims?
I believe the trust made payments to women. I don't know if I can't tell you which the women were, but I cannot tell you that women who were later claiming to be victims weren't recipients of those payments.
Did you have any role in determining who would be beneficiaries of the trust?
No, I had no role in determining who would be beneficiaries.
How much did you receive as from being a beneficiary in total? Until
I don't remember. Either 3 or 4 million over time.
have you ever facilitated a charitable contribution from an Epstein account or entity to a Leon Black owned account or entity?
I don't understand what that word facilitating means.
Did you ever have any role in transferring or wiring money as a charitable contribution from an Epstein account to a Leon Black owned account?
No, I don't think so, no.
What is JEGE Inc.?
There were two JEGEs. One was an Inc., one was an LLC. One, each of those entities owned separate aircraft. We don't remember what Inc. owned. I think Inc. owned the Boeing aircraft. And I think JEGE LLC owned either a G4 or a G5 aircraft.
Did you have any role in the employment of staff for the plane?
Did I have a role in the employment of staff? Maybe ask.
Did you draft employment agreements for staff of the plane?
No, I didn't draft employment agreements for the staff. The planes were, so there was one pilot who was the chief pilot, and then there were other, some of the planes required two pilots at a time because they were so large. But they were kind of part of the staff. And to the extent the second pilot was employed, I wasn't the one doing the employment.
What is the COUQ Foundation?
The COUQ Foundation, I think it's a private foundation. It's a corporation. I don't remember if it's Delaware or not, but I think it might be a Delaware corporation, but it's a private foundation. The primary kind of idea of which was to make grants to individual research and scholarship. And I think it also did other charitable contributions as well.
Income filing or income tax filings from this foundation reflect over 200,000 scholarship payments to NYU, Columbia, and Hunter College between 2001 and 2006. Do you know who these scholarships were for?
Yeah, I don't know since I admit it.
There are also reports that COUQ made direct payments of over 30,000 euros to women with Eastern European surnames. Did you initiate these payments?
Oh, sorry, there's about
Is
10
there any way
minutes.
to tell me what you're talking about? Because it doesn't, as I'm sitting here today, I don't have a recollection of that. But if you could tell me, if it's possible to tell me what payments you're talking about, I'd like to answer the question.
During your time working for Mr. Epstein, do you recall any payments made to women with European surnames or Eastern European, excuse me?
First of all, the idea of an Eastern European surname, and that's exactly, I understand like the implication of it, but I don't know for sure. But putting that aside, there were payments for employees made by some of the foundations. It's not in front of me. It is possible that this was one of them, but it's hard for me to answer that question without looking at what it is that you're talking about.
What is the Gratitude America Foundation?
Also a private foundation. I believe Gratitude America was formed to do charitable contributions. I'm trying to remember if there was anything more specific other than charitable, general charitable contributions. The name would suggest more, but I don't remember there actually being more than charitable contributions.
On November 24th of 2015, you sent a letter to BV70 LLC thanking them for their charitable donation of $10 million to Gratitude America. You signed it Darren Indyke, Secretary. Are you familiar with BV70 LLC?
I want to say, the answer is, I think so. I want to say, I believe that was a Leon Black entity, and that Leon Black made a contribution to Gratitude America through that entity, or that entity made a contribution. I don't know if it's Leon Black, but I know it was associated with it.
And we've discussed Leon Black throughout our questioning today. Why would this entity make a charitable contribution of $10 million to Gratitude America?
Whatever discussions were made between Leon Black and Jeffrey Epstein as to that contribution would have been between Jeffrey Epstein and Leon Black, and not something that it's not something that I was told the reason why for, just that it was going to happen. And then when I received it, I was told to acknowledge receipt.
What is the Max Foundation?
I don't specifically remember. It's not when earlier it was mentioned the Max Foundation. It did kind of go our memory of there being a foundation for Darren Maxwell. I don't, other than that being the case, I don't know much more about it. My understanding is that it was a charitable foundation.
Were you a trustee of the Max Foundation?
Long time ago, but I think I was, yes.
And what was the purpose of the Max Foundation?
It was a charitable foundation.
Did Mr. Epstein direct you to serve as a trustee of this foundation?
I believe it was either him or Maxwell that had requested me to do this, and this was before any information about any allegation for me about either of them.
Were you compensated for your services in serving as a trustee?
No, not separately from whatever compensation I received from this.
Did your relationship with Miss Maxwell end at some point?
The relationship, such that it was a kind of a professional relationship. Once he no longer worked with Epstein, kind of discontinued.
When was the last time you talked or communicated with Miss Maxwell?
I don't remember specifically, but as I think I said, it was a couple of years before he died.
What is the
year or two? I'm not exactly sure.
What is the LSJE LLC?
LSJE or LSJ?
Excuse me, what is LSJE LLC?
My understanding is that LSJE LLC was the operating entity. Ultimately became the operating entity for Little St. James, the island in the U.S. Virgin Islands on Venice Directory.
Did LSJE make payments to women identified as victims?
I don't know. I wouldn't have done payroll for LSJE. LSJE was actually called It was LSJE stands for Little St. James Employee or Employment LLC. So that so to the extent it's making payments, at least to my understanding, it's making payments to people who are employed doing work on Little St. James.
Have you ever been contacted by any law enforcement agency concerning Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell?
In which just at my memory to make sure, and I tell you the answer is no. I don't think I will.
For the record, is it your testimony? Have you ever been interviewed by any law enforcement agency concerning Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell?
The answer is no. I don't believe I can. No.
Have you proactively ever provided any information to any law enforcement agency concerning Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell?
Personally, no. I know that over the last several months, the estate has provided information to the Justice Department.
And why did they contact the estate recently?
I don't remember how long ago it was, but I remember in the early days, they contacted us for information, the estate. When I say us, I mean the estate for information. The contact was through lawyers and handled by lawyers, not by me.
We are at an hour, so one final question. Are you surprised that no law enforcement body ever reached out to you to request information as it related to Mr. Epstein or Miss Maxwell?
Even my role in my role as a transactional attorney for Mr. Epstein, no.
We will go off the record.
I just make sure they don't have anything else to say at the end. Sometimes I've come back and they had something left. So, okay.
Well, back on the record, just one follow-up question from us. I think we thought we heard an exchange at the end of the previous round that suggested that the estate has provided DOJ with some kind of documents or materials somewhat recently, as in within the last few months. Did we hear that correctly?
No, and if I did say that, that's my recollection is towards the beginning of when I think it was after Epstein died, the DOJ, and this may have been in connection with Maxwell's investigation.
Got it. This what you were describing would be all the way back to the time of Miss Maxwell's.
Or before.
Got it. But it did not, as far as you can recall, post-date Miss Maxwell's conviction, and certainly was not within the last few months or a year, let's say.
I want to tell you with a moderate degree of certainty that that's correct. I'm not 1,000% sure.
As far as you can recall, has DOJ either seized or requested any materials from the estate within the last year?
Not to my recollection.
Okay. Do you have any indirect knowledge or any reason to be unsure about the
I'm not
question?
invasive. I don't think so. I just don't recall. But I don't think so.
All right. We can go off record.
All right, that should be about it. Anyway, I will talk to y'all later. So apparently he claims he doesn't know much about what Epstein was up to. But I'll talk to y'all later. Have a good one. Bye.